Necrons! Necrons are the Terminator faction of 40k. Well, other than Terminators. When I was a kid, I thought they looked so cool. I only really owned 3 squads or models of any Warhammer faction. I owned a Tau Hammerhead that I saved up for like 4 months to be able to afford. I owned a Metal Dreadnought that my dad bought for me, and then I went on eBay and found someone else who painted a bunch of like old Necron warriors with the like green tubes. And then I realized that I could buy stuff on eBay, and then I realized I'm a child and I don't have money. The main issue with my painting back then was, well, let's just say that when I painted my Tower Hammerhead, it looked like it was wearing a fat suit of paint. Anyway, I re-entered the hobby a year and a half ago, and of course I was naturally inclined to go back into the same sort of army and vibe that I went into as a kid, and was pulled most towards Necrons, because Tau pretty suck. However, pretty soon into painting them, I realized I am not a fan of painting metallics, and I started collecting Gene Stealers instead, which you've seen on the channel. Boom. You're currently seeing me set up my roughly 2,000 points, a little bit over, Necron army. So I suppose I do get the You've Painted an Army participation trophy, in that I technically have 2,000 points that I could field. However, there may be something else that you might have noticed about this army that I've begun to accrue, and that is the ever-increasing number of models that are just black plastic. All in all, if I want to have every model painted for this army that I want to have painted, I still have 36 models left to go. And considering it took me 14 or so months to paint my roughly 50 models that I already have done, I estimate it'll take me roughly another 10 months or so to finish my army. That is, unless I were to try and do something stupid, such as... So this is Live Suffering Ruben, and I'm wondering how the hell I'm going to get any of this done. I have coffee, I'm ready to go, I'm pretty much not going to leave this room except for to eat food. I know that I'll be setting a timer, but other than that, I kind of am at a loss for where to go, other than just to get started. Hey, Video Ruben, do you mind giving me a hand? No, you're on your own, buddy. Fuck. Voiceover Ruben?
Hey, come on, man, I already did all this.
Okay. Well, here we go. First things first, I keep all of my unpainted models that I really want to get done on a shelf just behind my painting desk. This is mostly because then I can kind of shame myself by having to look at them if I ever paint anything else. And for a couple of weeks, sitting there has been a lot of Necrons. Fortunately, I made my paint scheme for my Necrons when I was very new to the hobby, and it's a very easy scheme. So, to start off with, all we're going to do is a sort of blue lava base using a variety of blues, and then a mordant earth crackle paint over the top. Essentially, it's going to make the Necrons' bases look like they're kind of crackled with black earth over blue lava. Actually, this is going to be very hard to explain and try and do at the same time. Voiceover Ruben, can you give me a hand, please?
No worries, that's what I'm here for.
Thanks.
So I'm starting with the basing because it is by far the messiest part of the whole process. First, I apply kind of my base layer of blue, and then apply steady lighter and lighter layers of blue until it kind of forms like a magma effect. I'm not looking to get like a perfect blend of the blues or anything like that. I'm kind of wet blending, but not focusing too hard on it. Since all we need is a layer of blues to kind of show through the hardened rock on top of it, we just need to make a sort of variation in color so that it kind of looks like it's different underneath that hardened layer on top. Again, we really don't need to worry about being too neat. We can just kind of splodge on a few patches of brighter paint over the darker blue. Next, we bring out some little blue resin crystals. I believe I got these off of Green Stuff World. These are great because they fit in with the blue theme of the army and kind of have that Thoct vibe. I remember reading somewhere that Thoct had a bunch of crystals that spread radiation, so I went with it. Some of the larger models, like the Doomstalker and the Spiders, also get these crystals actually put onto their bodies, and the same with the blue effect. To kind of give them the look that they're very like necrodermis is being worn down by radiation. But we pull out our Modern Earth, start laying it over all of the bases, as well as starting to put it over all of the areas of blue that we've put onto the models. When I was first getting back into the hobby, I saw this video by Midwinter Minis about him doing sandstone necrons, and he had the kind of crackled paint over the shoulder, and I thought that was cool. But I also thought I was so big brained, thinking of, I could do that for a base as well, and do like a magma looking base of crackling with like, you know, the color showing underneath. And as it turns out, so did everyone else. One thing that's very important when applying basically any crackle paint or any paint that's going to be very messy is to use a brush that you don't really like or care about. Like one that's past its best years and is kind of starting to look ugly. Just a brush that like you used to use a lot, but you're kind of past now, and you're moving on to newer, nicer brushes.
Alright, so yes, I'm wearing glasses. This is basically just me being done with the basing steps and getting the models ready to actually paint. We haven't actually done any proper painting yet, or even started base coating. So I'm not feeling very confident. Only about an hour and a half has passed, and I feel like this is going to take me a very long time to do all of these models to completion. The other thing is looking at them, just because of the conditions, I think, of how the air is in my space, the crackle paint hasn't crackled very well. There are a bunch of tips and tricks on how to use crackle paint, and a lot of them involve, if you want better cracks and better crackles, kind of mixing in some PVA glue or using a hairdryer. We don't really have, I'm not sure if we really have time to go through and do blue paint over all the bases again and then do crackle paint again. So I think we're just gonna have to kind of live with some substandard crackling, to the point where I don't even think my camera is able to pick up any of the blue on this guy's base. There is some very, very minute sort of cracks showing through, but my camera, I don't think can even pick it up, they're so small. So, in other places though, if I point this in the direction of the light a bit more, the model's blocking so much of it. Okay. Basically, by all metrics of measurement and just looking at them, it looks like I've done almost nothing other than just stick some crystals on in the past hour and a half, which isn't great.
I did end up mixing in some PVA glue and applying that to some of the larger models like the Reanimator or the Spiders that I want to kind of have a nicer look, but even then the results still weren't amazing. I even filmed me putting new crackle paint over the models, but very, very out of frame. I'm good at this, me. But hey, what are you going to do? Sometimes you just have to do a lot of models at once like this, and big mistakes ripple throughout all of them. Kind of just have to accept small cracks in our crackle paint and move on. Anyway, once we've got all the crackle paint, the basing and setup down, we can move on to the base coats for our models. These are the base colors that we're going to use across the board. For this, I primarily use Dark Reaper for a lot of the sort of plates and ceramics, a simple Abaddon Black for a lot of the connections, and a Pro Acrylic Gold as my accent color. I've also started using the Pro Acrylic Dark Silver for a lot of the metals. I used to use Lead Belcher, but honestly, Citadel's line of metallics really just don't do it for me anymore. They always seem streaky. The downside of this is obviously having my newer models look slightly different from my older ones for being a different paint, but that's outweighed by the luxury of how good the Pro Acrylic metal paints are in my eyes. So once we've finished getting the metallics down, this is what a model that has the full metallics on looks like compared to just the black. So I know for you guys, there's probably just been a few edits of me base coating silver. However, that has taken me about 6 hours to do, and I'm dreading the rest of the models. But now that we're done with the silver, we can try and get all the other base coats on, which will probably take me another 6 hours, which is the golds, the blues, and this sort of off blue color, sort of gray blue, called Dark Reaper, which I use for a lot of the kind of large plates of kind of ceramic looking stuff. Like these on the spider, the big kind of areas that are just black right now. Once that's done, I'll check back in, and hopefully it doesn't take me another 6 hours, but it probably will. The two kind of big variants to our base coat scheme is the Plasmancer that I have here. He's gonna need a lot more blue and kind of a lot more gold than the rest of the models to kind of accent him as a character. And then the flayed ones, who will have a lot of sort of skin tan color, since they have a lot of flesh hanging off of them. So that'll be fun. Also, I think the red will play nicely, of like blood on the skin will play nicely with the blues. And we'll go over to voiceover Ruben for me doing all of those base coats. Thanks, Suffering Ruben. So the first thing I wanted to get done was the gold. Gold is like my special model accent color. Essentially, it just goes on everything that isn't a troop. For most of the models, it's just a small accent. However, some especially regal models, like our Plasmancer here, will get quite a large amount of gold. For a lot of the other units, like our Spiders and Doomstalkers, it's just to accent some of the weaponry and technological bits to make it look a bit more circuitry-esque. Once we're done with all of that, it's time for the ceramics. For this, I usually wet blend on the base coat. Now, that might sound pretty scary, but it's basically just laying down one paint, and while that paint is still wet, applying another paint next to it. And then, just running your brush across the transition to kind of blend those two paints together while both are still wet, to have a nice transition. This is actually the much easier and messier version in my mind in comparison to the alternative, which would be many layers of gradually changing paint for a similar effect. So it's definitely worth a try, because it's an easy way to give your models some quick impact. Now, wet blending is relatively easy on character size models, but for some of the larger beasties it can be quite hard and quite a lot of going back and forth to get the colours at the very least good enough with a smooth enough blend. Alright, it's been... oh, microphone. Alright, it's been about 9 hours and 43 minutes. And we are pretty much almost done with the base coating. We just have the blue left to go. I'm slowly going insane. I'm getting that weird effect when I'm focused on something for such a long time that my mind is kind of drifting to the point of like my eyes getting a bit blurry, and so I can't focus on like painting specific details for an insane amount of time. The warriors are the big issue because there are about 20 of them. I don't know, haven't counted, and it is just so monotonously mind-numbing. It's fine for just the big boy and kind of these guys because these can keep my interest because it's just one model everything's new when I'm doing the whole thing. However, when if I'm doing 20 warriors, I'm doing 40 of the same type of arm basically. So it's just a lot and my eyes are starting to drift away. So I think I'm gonna have a half an hour break, watch some YouTube or something, and then reconvene. It's 9:12 right now. I know you can't see that, but hopefully I'll be back before 10 and we can get all of the blue glowy eyes, orbs, everything like that sort of put in place, and then we only have edge highlighting everything to go.
Now, blue is the energy color that I use for my necrons. So it's used across cables, weapons, eyes, and even the inside of their rib cages for most of the humanoid models. This blue doesn't have much of a cool impact until we start layering on brighter and brighter colors later down the road. So we're just laying down the same dark blue that we originally used for the lava base, and we'll be building up in very similar steps. So, remember this from like a minute ago?
Microphone.
Well, this time, when going to record my audio, I had my microphone plugged in, but not turned on. Meaning that the audio that my camera picked up sounds like this. So I'll be taking over for Suffering Ruben, who doesn't know how to do his job apparently, and you can watch the idiot talk to something that can't hear him. I'm currently explaining how the base coat setup is finally finished after 12 hours, and how it is currently the point in the evening where I would usually be asleep. I also explain how the next steps to do are accent our dark blue with some lighter blue, gradually building up the steps, and layer on some brighter silver onto the grey metal to make everything pop a bit more. Ooh, what was I saying here? That looks fun. Oh, never mind. So I cracked on applying brighter blues to all the energy bits, like the eyes and backs of the scarabs. For most models, I just put on the brighter silver at the same time as doing the brighter blues. At this point, I just needed an endorphin rush of seeing my models not look bad anymore. Let's get back to live Suffering Ruben and see if he's worked out how to use a camera at this point. Nope. Still just flailing about like an idiot. Talking about nothing. Oh, has he seen? Has he seen?
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Sorry, I did not have my microphone on.
Ooh, that's kind of small. Yikes.
Anyway, I am feeling tired, but still willing to, get going. I've not had a coffee since the first one very early in the morning, so I'm going to be grabbing coffee and water now to keep myself going. But I'm pretty confident that we will get everything, where we're at now. Oh, I'm so delirious. We'll cut to the models. Where we're at right now, I would be happy just running these on a table. However, I think the final kind of edge highlight will push it to the edge of being finished, which is what we want. But yeah, I'm really happy with how things have gone. If I collapsed and fell asleep right now, I think I'd have to be happy with it.
So we got on with the edge highlight. First the metals with pure bright silver, and then the ceramics.
You can really see the difference that this simple edge highlight makes on the metal backs of these scarabs. Honestly, I think watching people edge highlight stuff is pretty darn zen on YouTube, so I'm just gonna let that run for a bit. You guys enjoy. Once all that was done, I went and applied Rakarth flesh to the skin of the flayed ones, and after a quick wash over that skin color, I was pretty much done. Hey!
Alright, it is 5:42 a.m. I have been painting for this many time, and I just finished. Everything's done. Well, everything but bases. So I will be working on this base and these bases another day. So basically I have four bases. Essentially I have 4 bases left to do, and then everything is absolutely done and my entire Necron army is finished. That's gonna feel great once all those bases are done. But I will do those tomorrow because it is very, very early and I have to be up to take stuff to the dump. So there you go, roughly 17 hours of mini painting later and we finish an army. Oh, and not a minute too soon because... Yep, that is the sun rising. Nice.
Very nice. I hope you guys enjoyed my video diary documenting my painting marathon. Next video, I think it's time for me to just work on painting one model or something like that rather than just painting a bajillion at once. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, and if you have any ideas on how I can improve my content or the videos in future, I know there's still a lot to work on, please leave me a comment down below. And if you're enjoying this content generally, a subscription would be great. You can find more videos, you can watch more of my stuff. It's a win-win for both of us. I try and make a video once every few weeks, so that way you'll be able to catch them. Either way, thank you all so much for watching, especially you, and I'll see you in the next one. Necrons.
You did a weird thing with your face.
I always do, honey. It's just my face.
Oh my god, that was insane.